And we're back for some talking hockey. We had the Leafs and Jets, another 1-2 matchup in the North Division on Wednesday night, and we will get yet another match tonight on TV. And yeah, it's been another crazy week in the North Division. A lot of the top teams in action, but of course we have the COVID scares looming. Vancouver and Calgary postponed a couple days ago due to the COVID-19 virus, and Montreal coming off a pretty long rest, waiting for all of their contact tracing to come back negative. They smashed the Oilers on Tuesday. But first, we're going to talk Leafs and Jets because it was a great game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Really solid defensive performance. Jack Campbell quietly is 7-0 on the season. And the Leafs really like another game where it just, you can tell they may not always get the results, but seemingly this season the Leafs have distanced themselves from the Jets and Oilers. Just the level of play seems to consistently be higher from this team. They have more energy, they'll have more zone time, and of course they'll have lapses, which has led to some of these mistakes and errors, but for the most part they seem to be the top team in this division. And this was just another example of that. Obviously, the Jets lose Blake Wheeler early, which was a huge loss for them, and Scheifele had to play a lot in this game. But the Leafs came out really hot, and Zach Hyman, I think defenders have nightmares about him when they go to sleep at night because he is everywhere and he just harasses you until you give him the puck, and then he's going to turn around and find Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, William Nylander, which is a nightmare in itself. And he's just awesome, and 2 quick goals because of his efforts, and he's able to get one himself, and that had the Leafs off on a great path the entire game. They score and they draw 3 power plays, which the power play needs to get tweaked again because it hasn't looked that good. I just think it needs a little bit more movement. One of the power plays coming from the second goal being challenged and it not being overturned. And so they give up another power play for that. But yeah, it was an awesome first period and really set the tone for the rest of the game. The big thing I wanted to talk about even more so than the game was after that first period with power plays being 3-0 after this Tim Peel ordeal, my brain now is looking, it's analyzing for what is going to happen. It's that second period. You're going, okay, boys, move your feet, keep your sticks down. They're going to be looking to call one to balance it out, which I had never even thought about before, but now it's there. And it happens in that second. I think it was kind of just your average run of the mill stick gets up on one of the guys at the blue line. It wasn't the Muzzin one where he caught Scheifele in the face. It was the one before. It was just like a quick slash on the hands, but arm goes up and then it felt a little bit weak, but that is the thing now. They balance it out, and it was, I hadn't noticed it before, but now it seems really, really relevant.
Yeah, I kind of groaned when that coach's challenge was overturned and I saw we had a power play. I'd forgotten about that rule, but it was, oh boy, we've got a struggling power play. And now we're going to be up 3-0 in power plays. You know, the refs are going to deal that out. I thought they were calling soft all night. The Leafs even had a power play before that. I think it was strange. They called it a slash. It looked like a soft hook to me. And then even a high sticking they called against the Jets. It was like the shaft of a stick as opposed to the blade, and it was like just off the chin, which I feel like most times the refs just play on. But yeah, you can tell they're dialed in and just looking to make sure the Jets fans, like the tweetiest of tweeters in Jets land, aren't going to be like upset about that call going under the radar when the power play differential is 3-0. Although this one time it did work out in our favor with Alexander Kerfoot, who's quietly been one of my favorite Leafs this season. Just, he's been so good everywhere he plays. I mean, I loved him on that second line with Tavares and Nylander. That third line was money for a bit with whether you play him with Mikheyev, with Engvall, with Hyman. And now he's playing between the vets at the moment, but he kills penalties great. He's speedy. He's got grit. He goes really hard, and he's got some goal scoring touch. That was a beautiful shot on Hellebuck to seal a breakaway goal.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Kerfoot, or the biggest downside, would be how much he's getting paid. And for what he has been giving the Leafs this season, 3.5 million is pretty high, and it throws him into that Kapanen and Janssen range. And I think that's why his name has been thrown around so many times coming up to this trade deadline, because if the Leafs are going to make an acquisition, they have to send salary back the other way. And he's the guy that makes the most, that provides similar to the rest of those bottom six. So um, I love Kerfoot too, and I think he's got a little bit of that sandpaper too. Not necessarily like the big hitter, but just a pest. And you really need those guys come playoff time. So the Leafs got to make sure they're getting something really good back if they're thinking about moving him, because yeah, he's 3.5 is a lot, but the way he's been playing this season, it's been really solid for a top 9 guy. And I've liked what I've seen out of him. I guess moving on to the power play.
Yeah.
Because the Jets scored right after, but penalty kill's been pretty good on the season. It's always going to be around average when you don't really have a center on your penalty kill unit. Jason Spezza will take draws and then skate off the ice. But the Leafs power play, it has been struggling. I think they're 1 for 26 in their last 26, or maybe it's not that bad, but I heard it was a
Like
really
0
bad
for
stat.
19 in there right now or something.
Yeah, okay. So then 1 for 26 would make sense.
Yeah.
Um, it's just very stagnant. The puck goes across, it goes around the horn at the top, just back and forth, like a pendulum. And the goalie and the defense just slide their sticks back and forth. Like it, even if they work it down low, it's never seeming threatening. They've had some trouble with the break-ins, but they're always going to have trouble with the break-ins when they just are consistently committed to that drop pass that they do. It's more when they get the puck in the zone, guys have to be moving. Like one of the things that Matthews was doing really early in the season was when he got past the puck to Morgan Riley at the point, he would wheel back up to the blue line and then start coming in with speed. So even that small thing, right? It just changes the angle. It gives him a wider view when he's coming in from a little bit higher, and it gives him momentum so that if he decides to shoot, he can get more on it. And just doing even small things like that. I just think him and Marner like need to get a little bit going. Like the guy who does it the best is Patrick Kane on the power play. Whenever he circles back up and gets the puck going towards the net, it is frightening sight. And so I'd like to see a little bit more from those guys. Obviously, you can mix it up, trying Thornton, Simmons, Nylander, Tavares, all those different guys in those low positions or in front of the net. Yeah, because I think it needs to get some tweaking, because right now it's just kind of sitting around the top of the blue line, and I think there just needs to be more action there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the power play.
Yeah, I thought they had it. I thought they finally, it's such a conundrum, right? Do you just look for something ugly and just get pucks to the net? Because that sometimes the puck will bounce your way, sure, but sometimes it'll bounce the other team's way, and that's an easy put away 200 feet away and force you to reset. So I don't mind slowing the power play down, handling it on the blue line, building the confidence up, and looking for that one perfect shot, which they did great on one of those 3 first period power plays, and I thought they finally had the goal. I think it was a Marner shot, one timer right in the slot, and Hellebuck just made a fantastic save to rob us and continue. So I personally don't mind going back to that. Let the second unit look for the dirty, greasy ones. And I like that Keith right now is okay. Our power play is not clicking. I'm not going to put Marner and Matthews out for a minute and 40 seconds and let them gas themselves. I'm 5-on-5 is going for us. It's funny. Early in the season, I felt like our power play was almost bailing us out. We were not getting enough 5-on-5 goals, and I was worried what happens when this cools down a little. And you saw that in March, the special teams. I just remember a couple of games in that slump. We were not getting power play goals, and we were getting badly outscored on our penalty kill. So the penalty kill has been shored up. The 5-on-5 is clicking. It feels like the power play is the last piece of the puzzle that needs to be solved. Austin Matthews starting to find the scoring touch again is encouraging and makes me feel like it's just a matter of time before they get back to that perfect shot. And it's not a former Vezina candidate making a stellar save, or maybe it's that second unit getting a greasy one and hopefully putting a little bit of pressure on that top unit. I'm not sure. I do feel like it's a matter of time. I they've We're on a 3-game winning streak before that Oilers loss. I didn't feel like the slump was completely over. This game more encouraging, getting the win in OT, and other than a bit of a turtle shell third period, which is kind of to be expected against a team as good as the Jets are, a really dominant win. You think we can say the slump is over?
I think so. I think the energy is back. Wayne Simmons was a big piece to come back because it's not even just the way he plays. I think the biggest thing that Wayne Simmons provides is that just all the guys on the rest of the team love playing with him. So there's just more energy when he's in the locker room. And you can see that on the ice. And I think a really big thing, right? He's 7-0, but Jack Campbell, like they love playing in front of this guy. He is a gem. The hockey world loves him, no matter Leafs fans or not. He's just like the nicest guy ever. And the Leafs, they want to play for him and they want to win for him and they want to block shots for him. And I think that's a super underrated piece that's been happening right now. Freddie looks like he's going to be out for another week before he gets reassessed. At this point, it feels like he might just get buried on LTIR with the weight. Like, I don't know how serious this injury is, but it doesn't feel like he's coming back anytime soon. Uh, Recent reports say that Kyle Dubas was in conversations with Buffalo, and Linus Ullmark there he has all 7 of their wins, I think. And when he's not in net, Buffalo's like 16-1 or something. So Linus Ullmark, like having a really solid year on a team that's been really bad, he's definitely a potential trade candidate. I think if the Leafs are struggling with what they should do with Anderson, I think that a goalie move is out there to have a tandem of Campbell and someone else, because like how can you avoid going with Campbell except for the fact that you worry about him getting injured? But besides that, he's been money every time he's been in the net, and the guys love playing in front of him. And if he can continue to just give them a shot, they love playing for him, and it's going to lead to results. And I guess we'll see. I don't know who will be starting tonight. I don't know if they'll go back to Hutch. I don't know if they'll go back to Campbell. We might see Vevalainen's first look in the net, but I worry about relying on Hutch or Vevalainen as the backup there if Campbell gets hurt. So I think a goaltending move is in the work for the Leafs as we get closer to the trade deadline.
Yeah, you can't bank on Jack Campbell's health based on how this season has gone. He really, let alone back to backs, you haven't seen him be able to play a game, sit a day, and then play a game. His first win over Edmonton, he then had to sit out the next day, and they gave Hutch the start. So the health just has me too hesitant to say Campbell's the guy, despite his phenomenal play so far. I Man, the Buffalo move or a Buffalo trade with Anderson would be intriguing. I wonder if there'd be a way to finagle the cap space to pick up Hall for Anderson, but
I don't know if Hall is what we need, though.
that second line would be a flamethrower,
I
though.
know, but Galchenyuk's been playing really well there.
Yeah,
Like it's almost, again, it's a weird thing, but I think the top 2 lines operate when you have a guy willing to do the dirty work. Whereas if you have Hall there, who's gonna go in and dig the puck out for the 2 skill guys, right? And obviously, like Taylor Hall is a great player and he's got a lot of skill. I just don't know if that's what this team needs at this point. I think your top 2 priorities at the trade deadline have to be goaltending, and it has to be just one more defenseman. It doesn't have to be a top tier defenseman, but it has to be a guy that you can trust in case a Brody goes down or a Riley goes down, God forbid, like a Muzzin or a Hall goes down, right? You need a guy to be able to plug into your top 6 and not lose too much at the back end.
yeah, it's definitely a lower priority. I love John Tavares' story, like this guy returning to Toronto, becoming the captain, and I want to see him succeed and blossom as much as he can. And I just want whatever piece on that line is gonna make it as good as it can be, because I do get a little fed up sometimes with the media narrative, like nonstop talking Austin Matthews, Austin Matthews, Austin Matthews, and then sprinkling Marner's name in there as well when we're going up against the Oilers and they're talking Draisaitl and they need to add one more name to counterbalance on the Leafs. And yeah, I'm just one, like, I love what he's been doing defensively this season. I wonder, like, does he need a playmaker? Because he doesn't quite, like, he needs something, I feel like, to get the goal scoring going, because the skates just don't set him up for shooting positions the way Matthews, Marner, and Nylander can. But I feel like if he had a guy who is wheeling and dealing a little better, that one, his goal scoring could get right back up there to where it was a couple of seasons ago. But I do agree that a defenseman would be a higher priority.
Yeah. And I think even these last two games with Galchenyuk really playing a solid role. Again, I hesitate to say that this is what he's going to look like the rest of the season, but in these last two games, Tavares has really started to emerge because Galchenyuk is willing to throw the body around and do some of the dirty work, which has allowed Tavares a little bit more open ice. And I've appreciated that from Galch. But you make a great point about, obviously, Tavares has his best year when he's playing with Marner, a guy who can fly around and set anyone up. But yeah, I think Galchenyuk is good there, and you let him go for a bit because there's got ways to solve the offensive team with the amount of depth of forwards you have. Like Nick Robertson is getting ready to come back very shortly. He had a filthy snipe last night in his Marlies action. Uh, like he could be maybe the answer that we're looking for, right? Without having to make a trade. So definitely something to consider.